Valentina Vladimirovna Tereshkova was born on March 6, 1937, in the small village of Maslenikovo, near Yaroslavl, in what was then the Soviet Union. Her childhood was marked by poverty and the shadow of war. Her father, Ivan Tereshkov, was a tractor driver who died in the war when Valentina was just 2 years old. Her mother, Elena, worked in a textile factory and raised three children alone. They lived modestly, without luxury, but with a strong belief in work and the motherland. As a child, Valentina loved looking at the sky. She would watch airplanes pass overhead and dream that one day she would fly too. But back then, that dream felt impossible. Flying was something for others, not for a factory worker's daughter. When she grew up, she started working at a cotton mill, and in her spare time she joined a parachute club. Jumping from planes gave her a sense of freedom she had never felt before. By 1961, she had completed over 90 parachute jumps, fearless and determined. No one imagined that this simple factory worker would one day become the first woman to leave Earth. After Yuri Gagarin's historic flight in 1961, the Soviet Union wanted another victory over the West, the first woman in space. Thousands of women from across the country applied, and the selection process was strict. One of the main requirements was experience in parachuting, and here, Valentina stood out. She had no higher education, no military rank, but she had a willpower that impressed the instructors. Out of hundreds of candidates, only 5 remained. Among them, Valentina Vladimirovna Tereshkova. The training was brutal. She and the others were cut off from the world. Hours in the centrifuge, tests in heat and cold chambers, sleep deprivation, and oxygen deprivation trials. She had to prove she could endure what even some men could not. Every morning began with military inspections, followed by physical training and long lessons in aerodynamics, radio communication, and ballistics. Some instructors whispered quietly, "A woman cannot be a cosmonaut," but she said nothing. She just kept going, task after task, without complaint, without hesitation. On June 16, 1963, the world heard her name for the first time. The Vostok 6 rocket lifted off from the Baikonur Cosmodrome, and for the first time, a woman soared into space. Her call sign was Chaika, which means seagull in English. "This is Chaika. I'm flying," she said over the radio, and millions of ears across the world listened in awe. She spent almost 3 days in orbit, circling the Earth 48 times, becoming the first woman ever to travel into space. But the flight was far from perfect. The orientation system failed, the capsule began to spin, and the oxygen levels inside fluctuated dangerously. She felt dizzy, nauseous, and the radio connection often cut out. Still, she continued the mission. She was alone. No human voice beside her, only Earth below and the endless silence above. When she finally landed, her capsule came down far from the planned area near the Altai Mountains. Local villagers were the first to find her emerging from the capsule. Bruised, exhausted, but alive, she looked up at the sky and simply said, "I have returned." When she came back, she was a legend. The first woman in space, a hero of the Soviet Union. Posters, newspapers, parades, medals, her face was everywhere. She sat beside Nikita Khrushchev, gave speeches at international conferences, smiling for cameras. But her eyes already looked different. Behind the glory was control. She was forbidden to speak about the problems during the flight. She couldn't admit the capsule nearly failed or that the system malfunctioned. She had to remain perfect, a symbol, not a person. She married another cosmonaut, Andrian Nikolaev. The government turned their marriage into a symbol of cosmic love. On television, they were shown as the ideal couple, but in reality, their relationship was colder than space itself. She gave birth to a daughter, Elena, called the first space child, since both her parents were cosmonauts. But the marriage didn't last. After that, Valentina never flew again. She was told that one flight was enough for a woman, one legend for a lifetime. She retired from active duty, joined the Communist Party, and became a politician. She attended women's congresses, served in parliament, and gave speeches about equality. But she never spoke against the system that created her fame. Her loyalty remained unbroken. Years passed. The Soviet Union fell, the world changed, but Valentina stayed true to the ideals that once sent her to the stars. She lived quietly, away from the spotlight, occasionally appearing at commemorations, sitting among veterans. She was still the seagull,